Chapter 6. Maleficent Dearest. After the group left Carlos to explore the dark net to see if he could find any more information on the villain's plans and whereabouts, Mal decided to visit her mother. It bothered her too much to think that the mysterious M in her note might actually be Maleficent, and she wanted to see for herself that her mother was still a lizard. It was late when she arrived in the library, almost time for lights out. The royal guards, trained in Imperial battle tactics by Mulan, stood in front of the double-locked doors and barred her way. "Really? You know it's me," Mal said. "Open up. Family visitors are allowed under the royal decree," she reminded them, like she did every time she grudgingly visited. The guard on the left grinned. "Oh yes, I see the resemblance now. I think it's the forked tongue," he joked, like he always did. "Ha ha," said Mal, pushing her way inside. The guard on the right grunted. "You have 5 minutes." "I know," she said, as they locked the door behind her, and she made her way to the pedestal in the middle of the room with the glass dome sitting on top of it. When she was a little girl, Mal had been very frightened of her mother. Maleficent was not the help with homework, bake cookies type after all. She was more the fearsome mistress who sent you on hopeless quests, like the one to retrieve her dragon's eye scepter. And she didn't take no for an answer. Even so, these days Mal found it hard to believe she had once feared Maleficent. It was difficult to feel scared of something so small. But the anonymous message from M had spooked her. Mal stared at her mother, who appeared to be sleeping under the glass dome. She looked like any ordinary lizard, harmless, cute even. But Mal knew better. No matter how harmless the reptile looked, it was still the mistress of darkness at heart. So did Maleficent have some secret talent they didn't know about? Would she be able to transform back into herself after transforming to the itty-bitty size of her heart? Was the lizard in there really Maleficent? What if Maleficent was already gone? Mal stared hard at the tiny purple creature that, when awake, had green eyes just like her mother to see if she could sense something different about it. But the snoozing reptile looked exactly the same as it did the last time she'd visited. "Hey, Mom, can I talk to you for a second?" she said, careful not to tap on the glass. She'd heard lizards didn't like that. The lizard was still, not even a flick of her tongue. The handful of times when she'd visited Maleficent in the past, it was like this. She never got a reaction of any sort. Mal always found it hard to accept that this small, tiny creature held the soul of the most powerful villain in all the land. "Did you send me this?" she asked, holding up her phone with the mysterious text. "Are you M?" No response. "It's only the two of us here, Mom. You can tell me if you've been changing back. In fact, it would be kind of nice to see you in your non-reptilian form," she said. Mal still wasn't above a white line now and then. There was no sign that the creature even understood a word she was saying. Mal sighed. "I guess if you were planning something, you wouldn't share it with me anyway, right? Seeing as I'm the reason you're here in the first place." She rubbed her eyes. "But one day, I'll find a way to get you out. You just have to promise me that you won't try to destroy everything again." Mal paused. "Okay, fine. You can cover Sleeping Beauty's castle in thorny vines. Have a little fun." The lizard remained as still as the rock underneath it. The lights-out bell chimed, and Mal reluctantly got ready to leave. "Fine. Don't tell me anything. I knew this was stupid. You can't even talk." Just then, the floor buckled underneath her from yet another earthquake. Mal swayed and struggled to keep her balance, her heart lurching in her chest. When it was over, she stared at the lizard suspiciously. "I don't know how you're doing it, but why do I have a feeling you're behind this too?" Someone was skulking outside the door when Mal walked out, but she immediately tensed, prepared for an ambush. But there was no surprise attack, and the stranger had a familiar face. "Hey, Freddy," she said, relieved to see her old friend from the aisle, and slightly embarrassed by her reaction. "Hey, Mal, what's up?" said Freddy, graciously pretending not to notice how rattled she seemed. "Nothing much," said Mal. Then a thought occurred to her. Hey, Freddy, did you get any weird messages or emails today? Weird how? Asked Freddy. Anonymous weird? Said Mal. Like maybe from someone from the Isle of the Lost? Freddy shook her head. No, I don't think anyone even knows I'm at Oridon, actually. Not our old gang back on the Isle, that's for sure. They probably all just think I'm cutting classes again. Right, said Mal. She'd only been in Oridon for a short time, but she'd almost forgotten how lax the rules had been back at Dragon Hall. But what Freddy said was interesting. Unlike the four of them, Freddy hadn't received a message to return to the island, which meant whoever had sent those notes only wanted the four original villain kids. But why? You got some kind of anonymous note? Asked Freddy. Mal decided she could trust her. Yeah, saying I should return to the Isle of the Lost, and Jay, Carlos, and Evie too. Isn't that weird? Totally weird. What are you going to do about it? I don't know yet, said Mal. We're trying to decide. Well, maybe you should. Go back to the island, I mean. See what's going on back there. I mean, it can't hurt, right? You really think so? Asked Mal. Freddy shrugged. I know if I got one, I'd want to see who sent it to me. Then she changed the subject and motioned to the heavily bolted doors and the armed guard standing sentry in front of them. Is that where they keep your... Yep, that's Lizard Rock, said Mal. The one and only home of Maleficent these days. Phew! If that ever happened to my dad, you could be sure I wouldn't be sticking around just so he could yell at me when he turned back. Freddy shook her head, her pigtails bouncing. And you shouldn't either. You know if she ever gets out of there, she'll come after you first. Mal bit her lip. You're not telling me anything I don't already know. Freddy suddenly brightened. But she'll probably never get out, so you'll be fine. By the way, if you do go back to the Isle, say hi to my dad for me. She clapped Mal on the back and went on her way, casting long shadows against the walls.